This is the Late Round Podcast with your host, JJ Zacharisa.
What's up, everyone? It's JJ Zacharisa, the editor-in-chief at FanDuel and at numberfire.com, and this is episode 541 of the Late Round Podcast, one of many shows that are part of the FanDuel Podcast Network. Thanks for tuning in. If you're new to the show, here's what you can expect from this 10 Trends show each week. Trends. You can expect trends. Seriously, though, I look at 10 things in a data-driven way that are happening across the fantasy football world, and I give a take or two on those things. This episode is unsurprisingly powered by data. I look at the numbers that I deal with on a weekly basis, and if something stands out when I'm analyzing things, I shout them out on this show. This is the shortest episode that you're going to get from me each week, but I think the episode does have some power. It should be helpful. Now, since the season hasn't started yet, the trends for this week are from things that have happened in other seasons, naturally. But in the future, expect the trends to be focused on the current season. Before getting into this week's trends, I want to let you know about the FanDuel Sunday Million. The prize pool is a whopping $3.5 million, with first place taking home $1 million. All you have to do is head over to FanDuel today and click on the NFL Sunday Million contest. Draft your lineup of players, sit back, and enjoy Sunday NFL football. Go to FanDuel.com today to participate in the NFL Sunday Million. Eligibility restrictions apply. Go to FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app for more details. Trend 1 this week is about Joe Mixon. Mixon has played 4 games without Giovanni Bernard in his career. During those 4 games, he averaged 19 PPR points per game. Most importantly, since we know that Bernard's a pass catcher, when Bernard hasn't been around, Mixon averaged a target share per game of 14.6%. He didn't fall below a 12.5% target share in any of those contests. Yes, I understand it's a small sample, but without Bernard this season, we could finally see Joe Mixon put it all together in fantasy football. I talked about Tyson Williams on yesterday's 15 transaction show, and I've got a couple of Ravens running back trends that help drive home some of the points that I made on that episode. The first one is that over the last 2 years, no Ravens running back has hit a 70% snap share in a single game. Every other team has had at least one of those games. The league average over this time is 10. So what this means is the average NFL team has had their top running back hit a 70% snap share 10 times over the last 2 seasons. Baltimore is at 0. This plays into the idea that a player like Williams could have a bigger role than some expect. Now here's the downside. And this plays into why I'm not that into Gus Edwards as others might be, because his cost climbed after that J.K. Dobbins injury. But the last time a Ravens running back saw 5 or more targets in a single game was week 13 of 2018. Over the last 2 years, a Ravens running back hasn't seen more than 4 targets in a game. And there have only been 5 instances where a running back has hit 4 targets. It's just not a good offense for pass-catching running backs. And that inherently limits fantasy upside, especially in PPR formats. Last season, the New England Patriots ran 979 offensive plays. During the 9 years prior, aka years with Tom Brady, that number never dipped below 1,050. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I think a lot of times when we look back at a season and look at how much volume a player had, we're often not looking at these types of raw totals. Instead, we say, this team was run heavy, so they didn't see that much passing volume. In reality, sometimes teams just don't see that much volume in general because they're either really slow paced or they're really ineffective. They're not running many plays. So this is the kind of thing that I'm going to look at each week on this show. Trend 5 is also related to the Patriots and volume, and it's that James White has seen 50 or more targets in every single season since 2014. I think a lot of people look at what he did last year and they say, White only had 62 targets, when that number was 95 and 123 over the 2 years prior. But the truth is, once again, New England didn't run many plays. And they were run heavy. The combination of those two meant less overall volume through the air. This is why we look at shares. This is why we look at target share. Last season, White had a 14.8% target share in 14 games. His 16-game prorated target share was 16.9%. That 16.9% number is actually the third highest of his career. don't sleep on James White as a high floor PPR option this year. No team targeted their running backs at a lower rate than the Pittsburgh Steelers did last year. Steelers running backs had a 12.4% target share. That was the 11th lowest that we've seen since 2011. I'm simply bringing this up because we should expect things to change with Najee Harris in that backfield. And it's going to be interesting to see how it impacts the target share numbers of the tight ends and wide receivers on that team. Another running back target share number that I want to focus on today is Carolina's. People keep citing the fact that Christian McCaffrey is back. And with him back, it's tough to see someone like Terrace Marshall emerging as a reliable option on that team. And I get the idea in theory. More target share to the running back position means less for the wide receivers. And I think it's not wrong. I doubt Carolina wide receivers have the same target share that they had last year. But don't lose sight of the fact that we should be looking at the difference between what they did last year versus what they're going to do this year. It's not like they didn't target their running backs last season. In fact, last year, Panthers running backs saw a 21.7% target share. That was 4 percentage points lower than the year before that. That's not insignificant, so don't get me wrong, but it's not like everything flips upside down with Christian McCaffrey back. Adam Thielen scored 13 red zone touchdowns last year. That ranks tied for the second most since 2011, with Devontae Adams last year leading that category with 14. But here's the thing. Thielen saw 20 red zone targets. Among the 534 wide receiver seasons that we've seen over the last 10 years, where a wideout saw 10 or more red zone targets, Thielen's conversion rate in the red zone ranked third best. In other words, regression is coming. Last season, Raiders wide receivers had a 45.7% target share. That was the lowest in the NFL. They also had almost a 33% tight end target share. That was the most in the NFL. Now, usually, I'd expect something like this to change year over year, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. In 2019, Vegas actually had a higher tight end target share than what they had in 2020. Darren Waller's a beast, and they don't have obvious alternatives in that offense, even though I really like Bryan Edwards. Once again, it's going to be Darren Waller season. The last trend this week is about Ezekiel Elliott, someone I bought into a good bit in my redraft leagues this year. Not that you guys really care. But this is one of the reasons why. Ezekiel Elliott had 26 goal line rushes last year. That was the most of his career. He converted just 5 of them into touchdowns, though. Since 2011, we've seen 23 running back seasons where the running back saw 20 or more goal line rushes. Remember, Ezekiel Elliott had 26. The only running back among those 23 to score 5 or fewer touchdowns was Ezekiel Elliott. Things should bounce in the right direction for Zeke this year. I'm obviously bullish on the Cowboys offense because it's hard not to be, but I think Zeke is in store for a strong season. That's going to do it for today's show, though. Thanks to all of you for listening. If you've yet to subscribe to the Late Round Podcast, make sure you are by searching for it pretty much anywhere podcasts can be found. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at LateRoundQB. Thanks for listening, everyone. We've got the weekly sleeper show tomorrow, so I'll talk to you then.